Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire intellect.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Chris X.
Good afternoon and welcome to ChrisXradio here on the Voice of Texas. I'm the aforementioned X-Man along with El Supremo. That's right. El Supremo is back here for another Monday edition of the program. We like to call it Manic Monday. So that's how we roll here on the program. Glad to have you here with us as a new generation is just around the corner, folks. Just around the corner. Once again, I'm the X-Man. El Supremo will be taking your phone calls here as well and flying the mothership. He has assumed control of the broadcast and will maintain control of this broadcast for the next 2 hours, as, of course, we come bearing that gift beyond price that is almost free, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you the spirit of talk radio. We got plenty to get into here on your Veterans Day edition of ChrisXradio. That's right. We are live. Happy Veterans Day, gang. Glad to have you guys here with us, and want to thank all of those who served this great nation. Now, that includes El Supremo. So, El Supremo, thank you for your service. I appreciate what you've done for us.
I thank you for your appreciation.
Well, absolutely. We appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. I never know how to answer that question, you know.
Well, I can understand that. It's about to say.
Hey, you heard about the monkeys getting out, right?
Yeah, I did. It sounds like a joke, but yes, I did hear about it.
Well, I captured 3 of them Friday. Unfortunately, they escaped again.
I was going to say, and they show back up on Friday again.
They might.
That's how they roll. Anyway, I want to thank, by the way, I want to thank all the veterans. Now, what's interesting is the previous, our Friday show on Thursday, GBK, who moved back up north, well, he too was a veteran, and even old Captain Jack is a veteran. Well, he was in the Navy. So, yeah, so they, in fact, you know what, now that I think about it, I only have veterans produce my show. I need military-trained veterans to keep me safe while I do this program, because otherwise there's no telling what might happen in this environment that we live in these days. So I am thankful for El Supremo, GBK, Captain Jack, and all of you veterans who have made this country safer, freer, and better every day that you serve. Because if it were not for them, I would not be doing what I'm doing. Even with them protecting us, there are still people trying to take away our rights. So just keep that in mind as well. So if you see a veteran today, thank them. Be thankful that of what they've done and the service they provided, and make sure you tell them thanks. Like I said, I know we have a volunteer military in this country. There is no draft instituted as of yet, or at least not since Vietnam. So, but when it comes to the veterans who serve this country, they keep us safe, and thank God for it. We got a lot going on as well here on Veterans Day, so of course we're bringing it to you live on the program. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, somebody who is also, Matt Locke is not a veteran. He just loves our country like I do. He's like me. I'm not a veteran. My dad was a veteran. My uncle is a veteran. In fact, multiple uncles were veterans. I have lots of members of the family that are veterans. That's why it's so funny, because when I get veterans thanking me for my service, I'm like, what are you talking about? I sit in front of a microphone. Yeah, I know. I get, the agencies come after me, and the Democrats hate me, and they would try to, but no, it's nothing. There's no comparison to what I do. I get to talk, and I like talking, so it works out.
You want me to tell you to do some push-ups?
Yeah, would you?
Give me 30.
Drop and give me 20. Chris X. Oh, I'd get run out of the military so fast. They would, when I was young and I was dumb, they would, for insubordination, they'd have made me walk the plank, or what is it, threw me in the Hague, or what's the other one, the brig? Is that what you get thrown into in the military when you misbehave?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So they had thrown me in the brig immediately because I'd keep talking too much. That's all I'd be doing is talking. Like, all right, throw that guy in the brig. Tell him to shut up. That's the one thing you don't do in the military unless you're a drill sergeant. In fact, El Supremo, did you ever, when you were in the, because if I remember correctly, you're one of those devil dogs. You're a Marine, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
And you know, once a Marine, always a Marine, so you're still a Marine, right?
Yes, sir.
So, in other words, if I got a little mouthy, you could go Marine Sergeant on me and just throw me in a brig?
Yeah. You know, I did get to meet Irby, this drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, that's,
yeah,
oh, God, I loved him.
Yeah, he was up here one time doing some stuff, so.
Oh, how come I wasn't there for that? Arlie Ermy was the best.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, man, that's very cool. You got to meet him. By the way, what's funny is my favorite. First of all, he was in Full Metal Jacket. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. Talk about, there's a reason he was very convincing in that part.
The clean
because he was one. But his part in Saving Silverman is one of the greatest roles he ever played. He's fantastic in it. So if you haven't seen Saving Silverman, it is my second favorite dumb guy movie of all time. The first being Dumb and Dumber. But Arlie Ermy is fantastic. In fact, he was great in everything he was in, especially Full Metal Jacket. It's really tough to beat that. Nonetheless, happy Veterans Day, gang. Thankful for all of the veterans that served us. All right, so here's what we're actually going to talk about. In fact, coming up with Matt Locke, I actually reached out to Matt, and I was like, hey, Matt, you want to come on the program and brag about how correct you were about this election? Because he darn near called it dead on. By the way, El Supremo, I did not catch the three monkeys on Friday. I didn't get to listen to them. I was up in the hill country, and I was busy working, so I did not get to hear what they talked about. Did Mr. Strew with the View, Mr. Strewsen, did he talk about him literally nailing it head on with the Electoral College predictions? Because if I remember correctly, he called it dead on.
Yeah, he mentioned it every 5 minutes.
Did he mention it 19 times or just once?
They had to tie the judge, though, down to his chair because he was wanting to leave.
Man, see, I missed it. I should have went back and listened to the
bad day.
I should have went back and listened to it. Well, the judge knew it was going to happen. I don't know why he was having a bad day.
The judge is a good guy.
Yeah, he's all right. I like the judge. He's, as they call him, the lovable liberal.
Yes, he is.
But that being said, he kind of knew it was coming. I know he wasn't going to vote for it, but nonetheless, he knew. And thank God a reckoning occurred on election night. So I didn't get to listen to them, so I don't have any idea what actually happened on the Amigos. I generally listen, even when I'm up in the hill country. If I can, I'll pull it up on my app on my smartphone. You know, you can download the KSCV app and listen on your phone, or I'll listen online. Well, I was out in the field and I was doing stuff. I was working a sawzall for those in the biz. I don't know what that means. Anyway, I was using a sawzall, cutting down limbs and doing some other stuff. And so I did not get a chance to listen at all. So, and I hate that. It's weird. Anytime I miss their show, I feel like I'm missing something. I don't know why. As Captain, Jack says, Captain Jack doesn't say much about the Amigos. He doesn't have to run the show. But then again, El Supremo may have, he had brought up something that's very, hey, do we have a new theme song for them right here, El Supremo?
It could be.
Is this a new theme song for the, I think we need this for the Amigos on Fridays.
There you go.
This is true. They do a lot of singing.
Paul does.
Well, they're not the young generation, no. That's true.
Uh-huh.
Well, if your town happens to be Houston, then that would be the case. So there we go. There's our new theme song. You think you're going to pull that out on Friday instead of the regular Amigos theme and play that?
I'll see if I can sneak that in.
Yeah, you would have to sneak that one in because otherwise you may be...
I'll say, Chris sent you a special song.
Say, Chris found a new theme song he thinks really fits perfectly.
Exactly
So there you go. I love the story about the wild monkeys that somehow escaped and somehow you end up having to produce. Well, you found them on Fridays from 4 to 6. So every Friday from 4 to 6, we have the amigos here. That would be El Senador Paul Betancourt, of course, the judge, and then a Strew with the View, Mr. Ben Strusad. Okay, so let me lay out what we're going to talk about today on the program. All right, the race for Senate Majority Leader is on. Senators John Cornyn and John Thune of South Dakota, and then, of course, Rick Scott of Florida have thrown their hats in for the leadership position. A secret vote will take place on Wednesday. Everybody has a lot of opinions about this. We'll get into it. I heard a little bit of Dana Lash earlier. She didn't like any of them. I can understand that. Here, a lot of people are not big fans of John Cornyn. A lot of people aren't big fans of John Thune. Some, right now, because of Twitter, it seems like Rick Scott is picking up pace, man. People are talking about him. So he's out of Florida. We shall see. President Trump hasn't weighed in on it yet. I'm sorry, President-elect and former President Trump. There's no way I'm going to do that all the time. I'm just going to start calling him Trump. Trump. Also, the House majority hinges on 18 uncalled races so far, with Republicans just 4 seats away from, with 8 congressional races remaining uncalled for in California. So we've got 18. Why are we 6 days after Election Day and we have 18 uncalled races? That makes no sense on any level. Why can't Democrats count votes on election night? Oh, I think I answered that question in a previous program. Especially since the Republicans are only 4 away, which most likely it looks like they're going to maintain control of the House. It'd probably be slim margin, but slim majority, which makes it more difficult. Can't do everything you want with a slim majority. People need to understand how things work in the House. But that will be a huge step because things are different now. If the Republicans maintain control of the House, we will now have control of the House. The Republicans will control the Senate and the White House coming up here in January. It's interesting. I don't understand why they're still counting votes in Arizona and Nevada. Well, I do, actually. It's because they're cheaters. And they still can't get it. They're still counting in Pennsylvania, trying to keep Dave McCormick from defeating Democrat Bob Casey, which he's already done. It's already been declared. But they're still counting. They're just going to keep going, see if they can generate enough votes to stop him from somehow defeating the Democrats. Hate giving up power, boy. We know that. And when they're in charge. Now, Schmuck Schumer, the current Senate Majority Leader, is not allowing Pennsylvania Senator-elect Dave McCormick into the Senate orientation this week because Bob Casey, the Democrat, has not conceded the race. I remember a time in a not-so-distant past where election denying was considered an insurrection. You guys remember that? Well, it was only in 2020 or 2022 because all of the 25, 30, 40 years before that when Democrats contested elections and whenever they did that, it was an insurrection then. It was the most patriotic thing you could do. But since 2020 happened and then 2022, no, that's... And now we're back on the Democrat denying elections again. They've done it for years. Donald Trump has picked Tom Homan to oversee border security and deportations as the border czar of his next administration. For those of you longtime listeners of ChrisXradio, know I've interviewed Tom 3 or 4 times. And I've met him at FAIR, the Federal Immigration Reform, the Federal American Immigration Reform. They're amazing. And he's fantastic. He is as no-nonsense of a guy as you're ever going to see. He's awesome. He is a perfect pick for border czar. The left will lose their minds over this. Guaranteed, they're going to be losing their minds. Well, then again, they're losing their minds over everything because, well, they just can't. Elise Stefanik has accepted Donald Trump's offer as the next UN ambassador for his next administration. That's House Conference Chair Elise Stefanik, Republican out of New York. So that'll be interesting. She's actually very good, very sharp. I think she's a good pick. Also, according to a new report, Donald Trump will pick Stephen Miller as the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Now, that will be behind, he's already picked the Chief of Staff, Susan Wiles. Now, somebody called into the program, multiple people, including Captain Jack Calder, Susan Willis. And I was like, I don't know who Willis is. Who is this? And then it was Susan Willis, and I'm like, I don't know who Susan Willis is. It's like, okay, well, that's cool. That's who we picked. I didn't know. Susan Wiles. We need to teach him, Captain Jack, how to read. Apparently that was not a prerequisite to get into the Navy. Nonetheless, so looks like, according to this report, Stephen Miller will serve as Deputy Chief of Staff underneath Susan Wiles, Trump's choice for Chief of Staff. We're going to be getting a lot of these picks coming through. He's already working on his transition team. If I'm not mistaken, Trump will be meeting with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris tomorrow. They'll be talking about stuff. I don't know what, but I'm sure it'll be fantastic. It'll be huge. Oh, dear Lord. I thought we weren't going to have to listen to that ever again. Oh, my Lord. Then again, we still got Hill Dog running around out there. Columbia University students are planning an anti-Veterans Day protest to honor the quote-unquote martyrs of the U.S. war machine. Once again, you want to know why I call them institutions of indoctrination? This is why. That is what they are. They're trash. Speaking of trash, Mark Cuban has deleted his pro-Kamala Harris tweets in the aftermath of her election defeat by Donald Trump. He's the guy that, slurred conservative women as weak just days before the election, dumb and not strong. And then he says, I've always gone back and deleted my tweets. Why? Oh, so you can't be held to account for what you say because you're a dirtbag, Lefty? There you go. By the way, did you see, remember all those big-time celebrities that went and endorsed Kamala Harris and showed up and spoke at her trash campaign events? Did you know they got paid? Did you know that Oprah Winfrey got paid $1 million to show up to endorse her? Man, I would have endorsed Kamala Harris for $1 million. You guys hear me? You guys on the left, you listening? I would have told everyone they're paying me $1 million to endorse her and everybody vote for Donald Trump, but I endorse getting paid $1 million to endorse some dirtbag candidate who's terrible. Apparently they did that. What was it? The Caller Daddy. Ben Shapiro was talking about this just a few minutes ago. The Caller Daddy podcast. They paid them like, I don't know, $1 million, maybe more, and then spent like $1 million building a set or whatever it was. It was a grift, folks. The Democrats, in my opinion, are professional money launderers. That's how you burn over $1 billion in 100 days. 107 to be exact, and then end up $20 million in debt because you're paying people millions of dollars to come out and quote-unquote endorse you. First of all, shouldn't all of them have to actually admit this is a paid spokesperson? I don't know how it works. Do they? Are there any election laws that we have to follow in this country? Because if you follow Democrats, it doesn't seem like there are any. Let's take a break. We'll come back. I'll dig into a couple of these stories, and then we got Matlock coming on at the bottom of the hour, which, by the way, I always enjoy talking with Matlock. He pretty much called this election, man, he was darn near right on. He still owes me a cheeseburger, but nonetheless, he called it right on. All right, 281-558-KCV if you want to try to get in, but you know what? Actually, hold on. No, don't call him because it's going to be a very short segment, and then we'll come back with Matlock, and I'll give the number after that. So I know you guys want to get in. Not yet. We'll take your calls a little later in the program. You're listening to Chris X Radio. Don't go away. Have you guys been listening to Steve Davis on the Total Wealth Academy radio show? You know what he does, right? He talks about how to generate wealth and passive income for yourself and your family because that's what they do at Total Wealth Academy. They've been teaching people how to use real estate to build wealth and secondary streams of income. They've been doing it for over 50-plus years now combined. So maybe you're just getting started. Maybe you've been doing real estate for years. Total Wealth Academy can take you from wherever you're at today and help you start realizing those rates of return that are almost unheard of in just about any other investment. Now, when you check out TotalWealthAcademy.com, you can get more information about the company, what they do, or you can also sign up for one of their free sample classes or their member spotlight nights. They've got online classes. They've got their monthly events, their quarterly events, their spring and fall events. All of it is right there at TotalWealthAcademy.com. It's your first step towards achieving financial independence via real estate investing. Now, I've known Steve Davis for almost 20 years now. I've watched him teach thousands of people on how to invest in real estate. Many of them went from having no real estate to retirement using those very same principles they're teaching at Total Wealth Academy. In my opinion, he's the best real estate consultant in the country. He's right here in Houston, and he can be yours. Check out TotalWealthAcademy.com to get more information. And while you're there, don't forget to listen to Steve Davis on the Total Wealth Academy radio show. It airs Monday through Saturday right here at noon on the Voice of Texas. That's TotalWealthAcademy.com. And just let them know that Chris X sent you.
Hi, this is Dan Patrick. Can you believe it's been over a quarter of a century that you have helped provide Christmas for thousands upon thousands of children with disabilities in the Be an Angel Christmas program? Go to beanangel.org today and make your contribution for this Christmas. Without you, the KSEB listeners, literally, these children would have a very bleak Christmas. It's Be an Angel that supports these children and their parents throughout the year, but at Christmas, it's very special. Our volunteers are in the midst of shopping now, and we always shop on faith, knowing that we can count on you. Again, thank you for creating this great blessing for over a quarter of a century. Your generosity is unparalleled from any audience of any station anywhere in this country. Please send your check, make your donations today at beanangel.org. On behalf of Be an Angel, thank you and God bless. And to you and your family, from ours, Merry Christmas and God bless.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Hi, this is Robert.
And this is Jody.
And I'm Lynn.
And we are the Auto Pros.
We are here to help you with all of your vehicle dilemmas and questions.
Join the Auto Pros every Saturday 10 to noon, right here on KSEV.
Shop's back. 50 years in the Lone Star State, a one-stop shop so you're never late. Price is so low that you want to know which way to Specs. Come on, let's go.
Specs, fine spirits, and fine foods. World-class service, that's all about you.
Shop Specs, it's how we do. A huge selection since 62. Shop Specs, low price, amazing. Here's to you.
Shop.
Cheers to savings.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source, and these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender, license number 263213.
Joyner Construction Group is proudly saluting our troops and veterans. For all of your residential or commercial remodeling, roofing, and home improvement needs, call Joyner Construction Group today at 346-201-0083, 346-201-0083, or visit JoynerConstructionTX.com.
At Trulux, stone crab season is finally upon us. From the turquoise waters of the Florida Keys, we catch them, pack them on ice, and jet fresh deliver them. From our traps to your table in less than 24 hours. Also returning is Trulux famed Power Lunch. Need a spot for a quick lunch meeting? Come and join us at Trulux for an amazing power lunch. Check us out at Trulux.com or give us a call at 713-783-7270. We will be honored to have you in. Your table is waiting.
The voice of Texas, the voice of reason. Chris X Radio.
Get a little Frankenstein action. Welcome back to Chris X Radio. All right, this is going to be a very short segment because we went way over because of me in the last segment. And then we got our guest coming up, Matt Locke. He'll join us from the Working Man podcast. So we'll talk with Matt about how his predictions were almost dead on when it came to who was going to win this election and what's happening. And I'll get his update on where he thinks we are. We'll talk about the election and election night. Him and I were texting and calling back and forth on election night. It was funny. I was talking with some other people over the weekend about, election night. I said, man, I was up till 3:30 in the morning. I was answering, I don't know, tons, 20, 30, 40, 50 text messages all night. And then, of course, I turned my phone. I didn't turn it off. Just put on vibrate. Went to sleep at 3:30. When I woke up at 6 a.m., I had like 24, 25 text messages from different people. 24 individual, whatever. Well, I was talking to somebody over the weekend, and they're like, I had like 87. I had like 61. I had like 55. I'm like, what? How was? And, of course, all mine were, I'm sure they were all just, we'll just call it crap posting, I think. They were all bragging. All the things I were getting were questions from people. They were all like, what happens now? What does this mean? Did he really win? Is this what happens? What's going on? Can they steal this? Can they do this? What's happening? What's going on with the House? What's going on with the Senate? So that was a little different. All right, so but that being said, since we were so far over, let's go ahead and take another quick break. We'll come back. We got Matt Locke will join us from the Voice of the Working Man podcast. I bet he had more text messages than I did. I bet he had a whole lot more. His podcast gets a whole lot of listeners. It's the Voice of the Working Man. You can find it anywhere. We'll come back and talk with Matt and break down kind of what happened and where he thinks we're headed. His predictions were so good before. We'll see. Well, the election night predictions and Trump winning. When it came to who was going to be the Democrat candidate, you're talking to your cheeseburger winner, which, by the way, he won the previous cheeseburger bet, so we're just even. I can't wait to catch up with him again and go have a cheeseburger. I'm always down for a good cheeseburger. All right. You're listening to Chris X Radio. Don't you go anywhere. Matt Locke from the Voice of the Working Man podcast joins us next.
Call Chris X Radio now. 281-558-KSEV. 281-558-KSEV.
Hi, folks. Dan Patrick here. Now that we're in the middle of hurricane season again, that can bring storms and strong winds. And let's not forget the damage that strong winds can cause to your big, valuable trees. You don't want to lose them, and you don't want anything damaged below them when the branches fall. That's why you need to call my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts. I've known them for over 40 years. It's time to deep root feed your trees to help with this stress. Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts knows this is the perfect time to prune and remove the deadwood in your trees. This will thin them out and help with the stress. Spores, beetles, and other insects are going to be drawn to your weak trees. The trees need to be sprayed to prevent these insects from attacking, so call Ability Tree Experts at 281-441-4179. They are the expert for all of your tree needs. Ability Trees is giving a deep root feeding with every tree prune. Call Ability Tree Experts at 281-441-4179. Get your trees pruned now and the canopies cleaned out. Call today for an appointment, 281-441-4179. You never know when that next storm is coming. Ability Trees, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Let's be honest, no one ever thinks about their garage until it stops working. The problem is, worn out springs, cables, and rollers can break before they give any sign of trouble. Don't wait until a simple garage door repair becomes a major problem. If your garage is noisy, if bugs are getting in, or if it struggles to open, your garage door is in need of repairs. Recommended all over Houston, Garage Door Doctor is your trusted partner for all your garage door needs. Every time your garage door opens and closes, there is wear and tear taking place. If not properly serviced each year, a simple fix could turn into a costly repair. Let the experts at Garage Door Doctor tune up your garage door and keep it running for a lifetime. The Garage Door Doctor motto, honest, quality work at a fair price, isn't just words. It's the Garage Door Doctor promise. Because when you're with Garage Door Doctor, you're family. We never employ subcontractors to do our work. Our staff, including our own family members, will treat your garage as their own. Schedule an appointment today at garagedoordoctor.biz or call today.
Chris X Radio.
Do some singing. Hold on. I got to have the reverb for this. Mother, tell your children that they voted for Trump. And your mothers voted They voted for Trump. By the way, this is my favorite Danzig song. In fact, it's the only Danzig song that I know, actually. I can't think of any of his other songs. Clearly, I'm not a big Danzig fan. One of my favorite stories by Danzig was when he was talking about, he's a big, heavy weightlifter. At least he was. He used to be really ripped. I don't know if he is now. Very muscular. And he talked about he lived I think it was like a garage apartment or a one-bedroom apartment. So he used to hang all of his heavy weights on the walls, and he did it up above his bed. And he said one morning there was an earthquake and it hit, and he said all he remembered was waking up later with a horrible headache. And he looked around, his weights were on the floor, and his weights had fallen off the wall because of the earthquake and hit him in the head. This is a dude who lifted heavy weights. So probably not good, but that was pretty funny. But he said, I don't know, maybe it knocked some sense into me. Or he goes, maybe I'm just so dumb I don't know any better. So, but anyway, that's my favorite song by Glenn Danzig. He used to be in what was the band he was in? The Misfits, I think. All right, well, is that what it is, El Supremo? The Misfits? Michael Nesmith? No, he was in... That's one of the Monkees, not the Misfits. So wait a minute, are you going? Wait, does that mean is on Friday we get the Monkees or we get the Misfits? Which one is it? The Misfit Amigos. There you go. We're getting ourselves in all kinds of trouble today. All right, as promised, let's go to our guest. We have Matt Locke, who joins us from the voice of the Working Man podcast. Now, Matt was. He was pretty darn close, almost all of his predictions on who was going to win the election here when I had him on was it a week or so ago, and we talked about the election. He was far more bullish on it because I was still worried about the cheating, which I think we're still seeing some of it in California and Nevada and some of the other areas, and I know he knows that too. But that being said, man, he almost called it all right on, and he joins us now. Matt Locke, the voice of the Working Man podcast, available just about anywhere. Matt, thanks for being here. Always good to catch up with you. Well, wait a minute. Now I've lost him. Hey, Mr. El Supremo, he said he's hearing nothing but silence.
I've got you now.
Oh, wait, we got him now. All right, thank you, El Supremo. I don't know what he's doing over there. All right, Matt, glad to have you back on the program. Hey, man, you darn near called that election almost dead on the last time you were on the show. You want to come on and brag a little bit about that or what?
Well, I'm not going to brag. I mean, you and I are different animals when it comes to paying attention to what goes on. So I'd like to say I'm informed. And I'm glad that I called it the way that I did because that's what everything was pointing to. So here we are. I mean, what a great time to be alive. The air is fresher. The sun is brighter. Everybody's happier except for the Democrats.
When I woke up on Wednesday morning, the fresh air smelled more inexpensive. It smelled cheaper than it did before because we're moving towards a new generation of leadership, which was actually a previous generation that we saw how it was. So yeah, you're right, and I figured you didn't want to brag too much. But that being said, you know a lot of people, you have a lot of contacts, and many of them you kind of called it darn near right on. I mean, you were pretty much everything that you said almost hit exactly. Trump pulled all the swing states, got every one of them. He won all the big states that he was going to win, and then for him to win, what was it, 312 to 226, something like that. It was it was a clear mandate. It wasn't close. It was a blowout election. It was as big as landslides we've seen since 1988, 84, something like that. It clearly shows that the American people were where you believe they were, and they're sick of this nonsense and ready for some new leadership that showed what the world is like under good leadership.
Well, we're in a very interesting time in this country, my friend, because, of course, like you just said, America is ready to get back to what America stands for. The problem is the Democrat Party isn't ready for you to get back to what they're not letting you be, right? I mean, the Democrat Party is a party of control. It is a party of, you do what they tell you to do. How dare you get outside of their hive mind set? And the really wild thing is I feel really bad for Democrats today. I mean, honestly, I do. I feel some empathy here, and I know you do too, because the people that listen to just MSLSD or the Clinton News Network or the alphabet soup of news, they had no idea what was about ready to take place last Tuesday, right? And we did. And so I saw a very interesting thing today on X, which I chuckled about. Trump now had an unfair advantage on X. Chris, did Kamala get banned or censored on X? I can't remember.
No, I don't think she did.
Right. Weird, huh?
By the way, I know you said you have some sympathy or empathy, if you will, for the Democrats. I have none. I have zero. And I'll tell you why. Not that I'm going to rub it in their faces or not that I'm going to attack them or blame them or anything, but we lived under Democrat rule. And I remember what happened when Barack Obama won, and I remember what happened when Joe Biden won. They wanted to throw us all in gulags, okay? They hated us. They made a point to hammer us every day of that garbage administration while the world got progressively worse every minute of this last administration. It's gotten every minute of it, including the one before. But I'm sorry, the one before Donald Trump. But for Donald Trump, when he was in power, when he won a legitimate election, they whined and cried, blamed it on Donald Trump colluding with Russia, and they made it all up. And then the propaganda media went on every day to somehow explain to us how everything was worse when it was getting better every single day. So now I'm at a point where, you know what, Barack Obama told us to get in the back of the bus and sit down and all of these things. No, listen, I have no sympathy for them. I have no empathy for them because what they voted for has been an albatross around the neck of every American, paying high costs for everything, the border being less secure, families being split apart. Yeah, no, not at the border. I'm talking about the ones that had their children murdered or their spouses or whatever killed because of the influx, and also what happened overseas. So it's been such an abysmal failure with the economy, you name it, that I have no empathy for them. None. Once again, I'm not going to beat them over the head with it. I agree with you. This is a new day. It is time to move in a better direction. And I already know, because I know you know this, they're going to do everything they can to obstruct any amount of success that Donald Trump and Republicans have. It's just going to be a new world because not only did the Republicans take the White House, they took the Senate. And from the looks of things, with 18 seats still outstanding, which I don't understand that. Well, I do understand it, but it doesn't make any sense. They're just 4 seats away from maintaining the House, which it looks like they're going to maintain the House, which puts Donald Trump in a far better position to do a whole lot of things. What say you, Matlock?
Well, I'm going to blow your mind, my friend, because I've been on the phone today, and actually I'm a little bit late to your show today because I was on another phone call. We're seeing some sort of chinsery that has happened in Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona that we're now starting to parse through. And I can give your audience a little bit of a coming event. The Trump campaign folks know what is currently happening on the ground. There was a ballot dump in Wisconsin at 3 a.m. that gave Tammy Baldwin her seat, even though Eric Hovde was leading by quite a nice margin, and then it did that. Michigan, the same way. Nevada, the same way. You should say Las Vegas. That's pretty much all Nevada who votes. But you've got Nevada and you've got Arizona. There were ballot dumps in the middle of the night that went 90 to 100% Kamala. And so while we were asleep and not paying attention, and we all say, well, yeah, Trump got 312 electoral college votes, which he did, won the popular vote by 4 or 5 million. Chris, he got more votes this go around than he got in 2020. That's wildly crazy, by the way, that a president, there's never been a president that's got more votes every time, like from 16 to 20 to 24. He literally got more votes, and Kamala got less. And I have to laugh because now the left is doing our job for us today, Chris. They want election, they want to look at elections. They want to deny it. They want recounts. They want hand votes. I say let's do it. Let's go back to 2020 and this year and figure out where those 15 million votes went that Joe Biden never got.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're talking about. What occurred? Those late night vote dumps. We saw that in 2020 and how that played out. And of course, I know you read the story as well about how the RNC was set and ready to go with ballot watchers, with attorneys. So there were multiple states on election night that, other than Arizona and Nevada, that were trying to stop counting so they could go back and count the next day. That was exactly what they, quote-unquote, did in 2020, except when they claimed they stopped voting, they didn't. They just ran off the poll watchers, put up pizza boxes and poster board, and then proceeded to keep counting all night long with these late-night ballot dumps that shouldn't even be legal, but nonetheless, that was what they did. And apparently they've done that in a few areas. So, and I made the statement, too, to you when we were on your podcast. You asked me what I thought. I said, Donald Trump wins a legitimate election 10 out of 10 times. There's no way they're going to defeat him in a legitimate election. I still believe that 100%, in fact, in a landslide. But I was worried about those sort of maneuvers if they were going to be able to pull it off in the national race. Well, they were not able to pull it off when it comes to Donald Trump and this, his race here the third time. But that being said, as you pointed out, it happened. And I was talking with some other people. I said, in Arizona, there's no way that Kari Lake can get a legitimate election in Arizona. Katie Hobbs, who oversaw her win as governor against Kari Lake, which, by the way, they did the late night dumps and all that stuff to cheat her, because I believe 100% that Kari Lake legitimately would have won that election without their cheating, and she'd be the governor. But Katie Hobbs was the Secretary of State. She saw it over. She's now the governor. There was no way she was going to let Katie Hobbs was going to let Kari Lake win that election. And we saw what happened. We saw they're still counting in Arizona. So it's ridiculous. But that being said, when you start looking at the numbers, as you pointed out earlier with Donald Trump, the guy gained votes every single time he ran. None of it made sense why he lost last time, other than you have to throw out all logic and common sense, and then you'll just believe what they tell you. Well, in the race in Arizona, somehow people got out and voted for Donald Trump, who is 100% MAGA, and then you've got Kari Lake, who is Donald Trump in a skirt. She is 100% MAGA, yet they all voted against her, who voted for Donald Trump. None of it makes any sense whatsoever, and somehow voted for the Democrat, Ruben Gallegos. None of this makes any sense.
Well, you can go through all those states I just talked about. So you go to Michigan, Trump wins pretty handily. I mean, won Michigan by 5 or 6 points, but yet the Republican Senate candidate lost. You can go to Wisconsin, same thing. Trump wins Wisconsin by 2 or 3%, yet the Republican candidate lost. You go to Nevada, where Trump won by 4 or 5 points, and yet the Republican Senate candidate lost. And you go to Arizona. Chris, Arizona is run by the cartels. We can all sit here and run. No, I'm dead serious. I've got information that's coming out of Arizona.
That was what you call an exhausted sigh, because I know you're right.
Well, and I'm hearing it firsthand from people I have on the ground. And look, you started the program with, you were right. I know. I have really great people all over the country who give me good information. You don't come to the Voice of the Working Man podcast and get told lies. You get told the truth. So that's why, by the way, no one listened to mainstream media on election night. They all went to podcasts. They all went to, the Theo Vaughns and the Joe Rogans and the guys out there getting Trump and all of this information out to you. They didn't lie to you. So that's why everybody went away from the what I call the state-run media. All you got were lies, and the Democrats are all confused because they don't understand what's going on, because they were lied to the entire time. I'm being told on the ground in Arizona, Katie Hobbs, the whole entire government of Arizona, everybody in that chamber and everybody else is being paid off by the cartels, in that they're running drugs through there and trafficking, children and all kinds of things through there. And if Kari Lake were to win there, she would expose what's taking place there. Once again, Trump wins Arizona by 6 points. Kari Lake is Donald Trump in a skirt, and she loses Arizona by 3 points. So there's a 9-point swing. You're telling me, Chris, I want all of your listeners to understand this, that Arizona went and voted Trump for MAGA, but then went and voted for Gallego instead of Lake. Didn't happen.
No, I agree. Once again, it shows the lunacy of what, and once again, that goes back very similar to 2020, which you pointed out, by the way. But remember, in 2020, if you questioned elections, you were an election denier, you were an insurrectionist, and now we have Pennsylvania, who's decided that Senator-elect Dave McCormick, who is the guy clearly won. Now they've all of a sudden they're still counting, and he defeated Bob Casey. Well, you've got them trying to sneak and steal that seat back to give it back to Bob Casey, and you've got Schmuck Schumer going out there and not allowing Pennsylvania Senator like Dave McCormick into the Senate orientation this week because Bob Casey, the Democrat, has not conceded the race. I thought that was, I remember not too long in the past where that was considered insurrection and seditious and everything else. So, what are the Democrats back on the sedition train? Is that what it is?
Well, yeah, and Gallego is actually welcome with open arms, even though Kerry Lake has not conceded that race yet either. It's weird how it goes backwards. Gallego is open arms to Chuck Schumer, but yet they can't get McCormick in there because Casey is still not conceded that race. It's weird how that goes. I mean, you can watch the left in real time implode and be on one morality and then on the other morality, and you look at the hypocrisy, but they just don't care because it's all control. And like you said before, Chris, we're going to live through another 4 years, and I hope Trump jams this straight up their rear end, where the media, the left, hey, I'm being good for the FCC guys.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I'm being good. You know what I normally would say. But
yes,
it's going to be wild to watch the Democrat Party try to do what they did in the first term of Trump. He's not going to let it happen. Have you seen the people he's starting to call names of? Stephen Miller, Tom Homan. He's not messing around this time. And I'm going to tell you what, if Trump were smart, and I've said this on my podcast, and I'll say it right here on your show too, if Trump were smart, he'd freeze out the state-run media because all they're going to do is write propaganda and ridiculous crap against him nonstop. He's going to, like you said, it's going to be the Trumpocalypse number 2, right? Even though you're going to be doing better. And when Joe Biden ruined the economy, it was great, all that stuff. If Trump just continues to deliver his message once or twice a month on popular podcasts, you can come on The Voice of the Working Man. I'll welcome him with open arms. He'll get his message out to the actual people listening. Heck, AOC is now asking, I don't know if you saw it, she wants to know what Republicans were watching, what podcast, and where they got their information prior to the election. They're mad at you.
It's almost as though if they didn't have double standards, they'd have none at all. Oh, that's right, they don't. That's the only standards they've got are double standards, which, by the way, yeah, I touched on that earlier, and I'll talk more about it in the program with the people that Donald Trump is already picking for his new administration. Amazing. And by the way, he made it clear that, hey, thank you for your service, but we don't need Mike Pompeo or Nikki Haley back. So those are good steps in the right direction. I guess because we're way over very quickly, the race for Senate Majority Leader is on. You got, Texas Senator John Cornyn, John Thune of South Dakota, and Rick Scott of Florida. Dana Lash hates all of them. If I have to pick between 3, which we don't get to vote, secret ballot, I'm leaning towards Rick Scott. He seems like the lesser of 3 weasels to me. What do you think is going to happen in that one?
I agree with you. Well, here's the thing. Americans aren't going to take this, Chris, and so Trump should have a pick in this. Trump should be able to pick the people he wants in his circle to do the things he needs because the American people voted, and this is what they wanted. The Democrats can cry all they want. So, Rick Scott's the guy. I mean, that's who we're seeing here. I mean, you got Cornyn, you and I are here in Texas. That's an absolute debacle. I mean, you don't have enough time for me to talk about John Cornyn. And you've got Thune, who is, just as big as a douche nozzle as Cornyn is. So, I mean, the only choice you really have is Rick Scott. Is he great? No. These are the politicians that we have. Now, what irritates me, Chris, these people work for you and I, and they want to have secret ballots in the Senate. Oh, no. I want to see who you're bought by. You need to vote out in the open, and you need to wear what vote – I don't care who you vote for. I mean, this is the Senate. If you want to vote for Thune, you want to vote for Cornyn, you want to vote for Scott, I want to know who did, because then we can primary you. You don't get to do secret ballots. That's not the way this works. You work for us.
Yeah, that's, it seems like, we pay their salaries. So, all right, very quickly, Matt, tell everybody how they can check out the Voice of the Working Man podcast and, of course, follow you.
Well, it's very easy to find the Voice of the Working Man podcast, VOTWM.com, Voice of the Working Man. The show's over there, the blog's over there, the shop's over there, and you can find me at Matlock Radio on X. So go check it out.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate the wrap-up, and I'm looking forward to us getting together and having a cheeseburger the next time I see you.
I owe you, my friend.
Yeah, well, we're just evening up because I owed you the one previously. So, but I'm looking forward to it. Any excuse to eat a cheeseburger, I'm down.
I got it. Thank you, friend.
All right, thank you so much. That's Matt Locke from the Voice of the Working Man podcast. And, yeah, I had to cut him right there because he was getting back to his podcast. He sometimes uses a little colorful language on his podcast. We can't use that here on the radio. Had to make sure he didn't go off the reservation. All right, don't you go anywhere. I appreciate Matt Locke joining us. Once again, the Voice of the Working Man podcast. We'll come back, wrap up this first hour, and get you locked and loaded for hour number 2. Don't you go anywhere.
Chris X Radio.
Hi, I'm Don Valentine with John Moore AC, Plumbing, and Electrical. When something breaks, you need help. But most companies charge just to come to your home. Before they even see the problem, there's a fee. I don't get it. Why should you pay them for the chance to earn your business? Not John Moore. Our technician will give you a full, honest explanation of the problem and an estimate for the work. No charge. Free. Call 713-730-2525.
Listen to the Total Wealth Academy radio show Monday through Saturday and learn how to build a second stream of income with real estate and lead a more balanced life. Check TotalWealthAcademy.com. That's TotalWealthAcademy.com for showtimes. Thank you.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate in O'Hara Homes. I'm going to drop some truth bombs that I believe. We are in a global war against evil. Donald Trump is a wartime president. COVID-19 was not the bioweapon the jab was. A surgical mask will not prevent you from getting a virus. The 2020 election was rigged. If you're watching mainstream media, you're being lied to. The elites of this world have been running the largest human trafficking and pedophile ring. The Ukraine is a deep state stronghold. God is real and created two genders, male and female, and Jesus died for our sins. If you're not awake yet, you better wake up. If you want a real estate company that'll give you the truth, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393 or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. If you're looking for a contractor, call O'Hara Homes at the same number, 281-373-3393. God wins this war. Nothing can stop what is coming. Where we go one, we go all. God bless America and God bless Texas.
Song. One of my favorite Genesis songs. Remember when it came out, I was like, this is kind of odd. Then I found out that was the chord progression. I was like, oh, that's very cool. And then, of course, how can you go wrong with Genesis? God, Phil Collins was a guy that was way more talented than I had any idea in the 80s. Should have known. He had a different song played every 5 minutes on every radio station in the country. I think the guy did all right. And then after I learned what he did with the slowly but surely a multi-million-dollar collection of artifacts and historical items that were all over the world from the Alamo. He went and bought them all up and then donated them back to the Alamo so they would be there under the condition that they stay at the Alamo. That's a pretty good dude. And why a guy from England was so into the Alamo, it's pretty interesting. There's an interview. I don't remember what interview he was on, and they asked him how he got into it, and he said, the story is fascinating. In many ways, it's the beginning of America. You know, he says that, or not the beginning. He said it was a huge step in towards, of what America would eventually become. It's pretty fascinating. Anyway, okay, so, I burned up all the time in our first hour. Burned it all up, but it was good. I got to talk with Matt Locke from the Voice of the Working Man. We'll start taking your phone calls here in hour number 2. We can do that. You want to go ahead and get locked and loaded, we'll be back here in about 6 minutes. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738 here in your Veterans Day edition of the program, gang. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you all to all the veterans who have served. Not for you, we would not be doing this. It would be a very different topic we would be talking about, if at all. It would be more like the state-run media, as Matt called them, the lamestream propaganda apparatus. So there you go. All right, hour number 2 is up next. Don't you go anywhere. We're just getting locked and loaded, ready to roll. Oh, yeah. We'll be taking more of your phone calls as well. 281-558-5738. I'm Chris X, and we'll be right back with the second hour of the program. Don't go anywhere.